I'm Benjamin Hall, and I'm searching for heroes. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. On today's episode, we're joined by Robert Paylor, a former Cal Berkeley rugby player whose life changed in an instant. In May 2017, Robert was living the dream. He was starting for Cal in the Varsity Cup National Championship. Now, just minutes into that match, an illegal move broke his neck, leaving him paralyzed from the neck down. He was fully conscious, lying on the turf, listening really as the play continued around him. Now, doctors told him the hard truth that he might never walk again and may never regain full use of his hands. And yet, Robert refused to let that prognosis define the rest of his story. With the help of teammates and coaches, empowered by faith and sheer grit, he fought back inch by inch, eventually walking to receive his diploma in 2021. Now Robert has turned survival into purpose as an author and a speaker, sharing what he's learned about resilience, identity, gratitude, and forgiveness in his book, Paralyzed to Powerful. So this is going to be a conversation about what you cling to when everything gets taken away, how you can build a new life, and how you get through one difficult step after another. So welcome to the podcast, Robert. It's a great pleasure to have you.
The pleasure is all mine, Benjamin. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm looking at you right now, and you've got such a big smile on your face. You seem so sort of happy. And many people might say, how can he do that after the injuries he's sustained? And so a simple question to start with, how have you managed to keep your optimism, your hope? Did you always have that after the injury, or has it grown back?
Yeah, it is something that people bring up a lot because I know people can't see my full body here, but I'm in a wheelchair and I have spent the last 8.5 years in this wheelchair trying to gain back that mobility and independence. So much has been taken away from me. Like you said, Division I athlete and a national champion to I couldn't breathe and I couldn't eat and I couldn't scratch my nose. I couldn't feed myself. Now, I've had an amazing amount of progress since then, which gives me a lot of cause for happiness, but this is still something that I go through on a day-to-day basis. Now, I think the people who knew me before my injury would all say that I was always kind of that upbeat guy, but I really built this foundation of success and that foundational fortitude in my life. A lot of the way that I did that was in athletics. So I understand you're from London, right, Benjamin? So you know a lot about the sport of rugby, right? And now in the States, it's not a very popular game. It's rising, but it's not quite there yet. Rugby's a tough sport. And when I'm having to wake up, alarm clock's going off at 5 a.m. and it's time to do hill sprints, or I got a 300-pounder with the ball in his hand with his shoulder down looking right at me, you gain that inner fortitude. You start building that sort of mindset to succeed through really difficult situations. And I think so much of it for me was not just that physical recovery, but that mental aspect, that emotional aspect too, that I really wanted to level into. So just as I tackled my rehab, being able to twitch a finger, twitch a toe and get back on my feet, I really intentionally tackled that mental aspect as well to be able to put a smile on my face. So I have a lot of kind of habits that I work on daily to keep my mindset in that positive mental state.
And I would say with rugby, no pads, no helmets. I mean, it's one-on-one. And when I was a young boy, I was a pretty small boy. And I mean, my coaches, I've played rugby as well, just saying, no matter how big that guy is running towards you, you go for his legs and you tackle him. And was it a lesson for me? But it works. Doesn't matter how small you are. If you can really grab hold and tackle him in the right way, you can bring down something far bigger than you. I think that's quite interesting.
Totally.
I want to ask you about what happened on the day itself, but first, before I forget it, you said that you have a number of sort of methods or what you go through to remind yourself. Tell us what those are, and do you have to think about them every day and how they help you?
Yeah, so something that really helped me better understand that mental approach to recovery was thinking of it as a mental diet. So we all understand the physical diet, right? It's nasty in, nasty out. Or if we eat well, our bodies perform better. And I think the same thing goes for our minds. You know, the more we take in negative information or we have negative interactions throughout a day, the more negative we're just going to be as people. It doesn't matter what our predisposition is, but the more positive information that we're taking in and those positive interactions that we have throughout a day, I think the more positive we are going to be as people and the more able we are to take on those challenges. So when I'm having those tough moments, and I still do, I don't just sit there and mope and let all that negativity swirl around me. I get on my phone. I I reach out to a friend. I talk to my wife. We make some plans. We have a date night. I go and I listen to podcasts that really keep me going. So there's those kind of spur of the moment things that I do, but then there's just that day-to-day habit as well. And that is something that I think you really do need to do every day. I think that starts out waking up. You got a good morning routine. So for me, I wake up. I wish I could say I got up at like 5 or 6 a.m. I get up at 7. I need my beauty sleep. And the first thing I do is not look at my phone. Yeah. That's like the first thing I do is just don't look at my phone. It puts me in kind of that chaos. It gets me wrapped up in there. If I don't look at my phone, I kind of start my day right. And then I listen to podcasts. My faith is really important to me. So there's some that I do while I'm just kind of combing my hair, brushing my teeth, getting ready for the morning. Really sets me up to be able to take on the day.
I love that. And I think the message really is, for people who are finding it difficult is you have to be proactive. You've got to find ways of doing it. You don't suddenly become happy or things don't get better. But if you work towards them, you can do it. You can do it as well. Could you take us back to that day, first of all, when you were injured and tell us about the game and what happened?
Absolutely. So day was May 6, 2017. That's my day. It's the day I'll remember more than any day in my life. And I woke up thinking that it was going to be one of the best days of my life. Here I am competing for UC Berkeley's rugby team, starting as a sophomore in the lock position, which wasn't an easy or common thing to do. Now we're fighting for our 32nd national championship on that day. The national tournament had only even existed at that point for around 42-ish years. So you can look at any team at any level in any sport in America. I think the only team that has more success than us is the Harlem Globetrotters, and their games are rigged. So we're doing pretty good. And this is really happening for me. I'm at this great academic institution with UC Berkeley, getting my business degree. It was a really good time to be me, and I knew that, and I thank God every day for it. That was very early on in this match that we're competing in a mall, which for those who don't know a lot about the sport of rugby is when the bigger guys group up in a single unit and we start pushing to advance the ball, and the defense's job is to come straight and they try to stop us from moving forward. So it's a boiler room. It's where the big guys thrive, and I was a big guy. 6'5", 245 pounds. I am on this field to move people, just moving people that don't want to move. And we're 5 meters out from scoring. So I'm drooling here on this field, thinking, let's go, Rob, drive this thing in. But then as I do that, the opposing players start making these illegal moves, and the referee's not calling anything. So first 3 players enter in from the side of the mall, things that are infractions. You're not allowed to do this, but the referee's not calling it. And then their number 8 comes in and he binds me in a headlock. So he's got my chin kind of pinned down to my chest. Normally in rugby, this is an automatic yellow or red card. You do that, you're out of the game. But the ref's not calling it. Another player comes in and he chops me down by my legs. And this guy continues to improve his arm lock around my neck. I can't get my head up. So I remember I just close my eyes. I grip my teeth. I feel this god-awful crunch in my neck. My forehead slams against my chest, literally nose into my sternum, gets pinned there, and then just poof. Can't move anything. Cannot feel anything. Totally clear and conscious, just as awake and aware as I am right now, but completely numb and motionless from about my collarbone down. And my thoughts just run wild. I had seen injuries like this before, scrolling through my phone or watching TV. I knew that I broke my neck. I knew it was a spinal cord injury. I know that they are catastrophic and they are chronic. And I kind of saw this probably likely reality where I would be sat in a chair and someone would turn the TV on, or maybe when I want to look outside, they point me to look out the window. My mom would spoon feed me. One day she's going to die, and then I'll have some caretaker to sort of keep me alive till I'm just really dying unaccomplished.
And straight away, you kind of pictured these the moment you knew it happened. You were still lying there, and you immediately thought of these things. Yeah,
within a second. Within a second. It was really, it's hard to describe just how big of a shift that is in one's life. I'll give you an analogy. It'd kind of be like if we both just blinked our eyes and we woke up and we were in China or some other place in the world. It's just like everything has completely shifted. My body, my physicality was my pride and my purpose. And now it's gone. And it's not just that I can't play rugby. I can't walk. I can't feed myself. I thought, who would ever want to date me? Am I ever going to be able to have a family? Am I ever going to be able to get married? I don't know if I would want to sign up for a situation like this. So this whole time, I'm kind of holding on for this hope that when I get into the hospital and we do some scans, they're going to be able to identify and address the issue so that I can get back to my life. So we do an X-ray, CT scan, MRI. My doctor comes back into the room. He's got a bad look on his face. Very frankly, he says, Robert, what happened to you is bad. It's really bad. And the reality is you will never walk again. You will never move your hands. And we're going to do our best so that one day you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. And if you can just feed yourself, you made it. You beat all the odds. And then he recommends a spinal fusion surgery to me. So he explains that the disc in between my C5 and C6 vertebrae ruptured into my spinal cord. I also had fracturing at the C5 and C6 vertebrae. So the damage that was done to my spinal cord might only continue to increase unless we perform an emergency spinal fusion surgery, which essentially permanently casts those vertebrae together. He says it's my best chance at stability and recovery, but, and like there's always some kind of but, right? It was a potentially life-threatening surgery. It's performed through the front of the neck. My body was already undergoing extreme trauma. That added stress of the surgery was something that I might not wake up from. And he told me I had 1 hour to make a decision. So like I said, my faith is very important to me. And the first phone call I make is to my spiritual director. I'm asking for prayers, asking for advice. And thank goodness I did, because the advice he gave me on that day has just carried me ever since. And it gave me a lot of power in what was just a powerless situation. And he said, Robert, throughout this journey, there's going to be so much that you can't control. But the one thing you can control is your mindset. So your positivity, your ambition, your decision to take this on every day and fight it is up to you. And this injury can't take that away from you. So I got to think, in that hospital, I didn't have a lot, but I had that decision to keep moving forward. And that gave me that mental clarity to be able to push those emotions out, go into that surgery. So I remember I got into that operating room. They put the gas mask over my face. They say count down from 100. I think I made it to 97. And it was lights out. That concluded May 6, 2017 for me.
Wow. It's so interesting because, you went on to do things that they never thought you would be able to do again. And I wonder, at what point did you say, no, I'm going to do more? Did it happen straight away? Did you say, they say I won't be able to lift my hands, but I will? Or did it take some time before you reached that position?
It was immediate. It was right when that doctor said, you will never walk and you'll never move your hands. I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking, you don't know me. And you don't know how hard I'm going to work at this. If there's a 1% chance that I'm going to get any of my movement back, then I have to be in the top 1% of workers. It kind of came back to that foundation that I had built as an athlete where, like I said, we're competing for a 32nd national championship in about 40 to 42 years. That doesn't just happen. You wake up every day and you put in a full effort. So I was really relying on those principles that I had already built in my previous athletic life, just translating it to a new thing. But I think there's just nothing you can accomplish if you don't believe you can actually do it. That belief was something that was so critical. That spiritual director really helped me to hone that in that moment as well.
More of our conversation after this. It's interesting because there are some people who obviously do not have the ability to see such positive options ahead of them. And I know you explained how your athletic, past helped the training. But do you think there's maybe something else? It's a nature-nurture question. Do you think some people that you were born with an extra strength, with the ability to keep going, or was it your parents? Was it how you were raised? Or was it, nature or nurture? Do you think both play a part?
I really believe it's nurture. And, it's funny, here we are recording. It was 3 weeks ago that my first child was just born.
Oh, gosh, and, congratulations. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Amazing. Like biggest success and accomplishment and milestone and blessing in my life.
Amen. I'm so pleased to hear that.
It's amazing. And I think it's shown me a lot about just life. And, here I am. I want to give this child everything. And something that I really want to give him is resilience. And I want to give him positivity. And I'm holding this baby in my arms and, he's crying because he needs to burp and, because he's hungry, he's screaming sometimes. And I think I love this guy, he shares my name of Robert Paylor, but I'm just thinking, you're not that resilient yet. And I don't think there's any such thing as a resilient baby, right? Yeah. Because it's built. You go through adversities and challenges in your life, you get through them, and then you have this reference point to know that as challenges come my way in the future, I'm going to be able to take this on. So I really believe that it's something that's built. I think your parents are a huge part of that in your environment, but in the end of the day, you got to make the choice to get up and get after it.
I will play devil's advocate to a certain degree, using my own kids as an example. And I actually wrote a book on resilience and how you get through things. And I said at the time, it's basically it's nurture. But I look at my kids now, and I've got 4 daughters. And they are different, whether one is funny and one is outgoing or one is shy. So I can't help but just look at my own kids and say, those characters are from birth. You know, they had the same household, same education, same school, same thing. So I go back and forth on the nature nurture question, but I do know that without the family, without the hard work, you can never get to a resilient point.
Right.
So I don't know. It's an interesting question. I want to go back first of all. I've got to ask you also about the guy who broke your neck. You know, who had you in a headlock, and I've got to ask you about forgiveness and how you feel about him and about what happened that day.
That was easily the most difficult part of this entire journey, coming to terms with how this injury had occurred and the fallout since then. Because what happened to me was entirely illegal. In the game of rugby, you cannot bind someone around their neck and drive their skull into the turf, rendering them a quadriplegic. I mean, this is just an egregious violation of the rules. So at first, we didn't really know exactly how this had all happened. You know, in these moments, there's a lot of contact points. It was all very quick. And it was in the days following that this evidence started to produce itself that what happened to me was clearly a violation of the rules and that I was drugged down by my neck into the ground, hereby causing my injury. And when I heard that news and when I saw these pictures and videos, I was filled with a hate and a rage that I just can't even describe, because here I am in a hospital. I couldn't eat anything. I lost 60 pounds in 1 month, literally 2 pounds a day, shedding off my body. I couldn't breathe and I had pneumonia. My doctors were telling me I might not even survive. I got tubes running everywhere, thinking I'm 20 years old. And even if I make it through this, I'm going to have to fight for a quality of life every single day. And it's not because I did something stupid, you know, it's not because of just a complete accident or coincidence either. No, someone did this to me. And I think in this moment, I saw this fork in the road. I was like, okay, I can go one way and I can choose this path of hate and revenge. And maybe I can convince myself that I'll use this fire to really fuel me, and that'll kind of drive me to success in my life. Or I can choose this path of forgiveness. I can put this behind me. And now, as I've said a few times here, my faith is a real guiding factor in my life. And I was one of those WWJD moments, you know, what would Jesus do type moments. And I was like, you know the answer. You don't want to admit it, but you know the answer. You need to forgive this person.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
but in terms of your faith, the question many people would ask other time about it is, why would God have allowed this to happen to me? And what is your answer to that?
I'll finish this process of like forgiveness, and I think it'll illuminate some of the answer on why God let this happen to me. It was a day-to-day thing for me to choose this path of forgiveness. It's not like I just made that decision to forgive him and then all that hate and anger was gone. It's something that carried with me for many months and would keep popping up for even some years. But as I stayed on that path of just saying, I forgive him, I wish him well, only giving action to those positive thoughts, that hatred slowly went down. I kind of let that fire of rage kind of burn itself out rather than putting more fuel into that fire with hateful words. And it's been amazing that as I share this story and I talk about forgiveness and perspective, positivity, that I'm able to help other people. And I start seeing this plan, because I always believed that God had this plan for my life, and that plan is good. And when I was laying there in that hospital bed, can't move, can't eat, can't breathe, I'm thinking, there's no way this is a part of a plan. And if it is a part of a plan, this plan is messed up. I was forgotten. And as I've had these incredible successes in my life and I've been able to share this with others, having people come up to me and say, Robert, I'm going through a nasty divorce right now, and this message you've given me in forgiveness has really helped me to keep moving forward and put all this nastiness in the past. Thank you. Or someone saying, Robert, I'm battling stage 4 cancer. I'm measuring my time, not in years or months, in weeks, in days. But seeing your fight and your perseverance, I'm making it through each day. People battling ALS, people who have lost loved ones. And I just think this injury might have been the best thing that ever actually happened to me, because there's no way I could make an impact like this on others' lives if I didn't break my neck. So it's required a daily answer to that bell that rings to get up and put in my daily work. But as I've united this trust and this journey to my faith and to God, it's produced a sense of meaning and purpose and inspiration that I just never would have had if this injury didn't happen.
There's such strength that it can give you. And I actually, I'm asked sometimes by people, gosh, the year when you were injured must have been the worst year of your life. And I no longer see that. I look back at that year as the year that made me the person I am today and gave me so many strengths and made me realize that you can get through anything. And it always surprises people when you say, actually, no, I look back at that and I realize, wow, I'm a better, stronger person who can maybe pass that message on to others than I was before. And that's a great reward. And I guess you've got to be able to switch your mindset like that.
Yeah, you do. You do. And you need to just persevere through it. There's a saying that I go back to a lot to remind myself that I've made it through 100% of my hard days. 100%. I think sometimes we need to remember that even when incredible catastrophe hits us, we've made it through 100% of our hard days. We should be able to lean on that. And having that more like long-term vision of seeing my challenges and then my successes after has really given me just a new perspective on life that I'm really grateful for.
Did you set yourself goals? I mean, when you were in that hospital at the beginning, what were those goals? I know that you walked to collect, your degree. What were the goals you set yourself and how you got there?
Yeah, I've been really systematic with setting goals, and that's something that I learned as an athlete. First, I really started with my vision. What's that long-term thing, that overarching goal that you're working towards? And I set that goal on day one when I heard that news from my doctor. My goal was that I will be wheelchair independent one day. So I can be using a walker, crutches, a cane, or nothing at all. I don't care what it is. I just want to stand up from my wheelchair one day and never sit back down into it. So that's my goal. And then in breaking that down, I think a lot of times we think from present to future, from left to right. If you're kind of thinking of a time continuum, I think it's good if we flip that. If we think from right to left, from future to present, really keeping our eyes on the prize and reminding ourselves what we're working towards. So my advice, think right to left. Think, what's your vision? What's that bold thing? What's something that you want as bad as me, a quadriplegic, wants to walk? Because in the end of the day, it's not always about what your vision is. It's about what your vision does. Does your vision get you out of bed in the morning? Does your vision keep you moving? So think about that really intently. That's an important part. And then once you have that step, take one step from right to left. What's the thing you need to accomplish before that? For me, I think I need to be able to walk about 2 miles before I can claim complete wheelchair independence. And before that, I'm probably going to need to be able to scoop myself up off the ground if I fall down. Before that, I'm probably going to need to be able to go from like a kneeling position to being able to stand up. Before that, I'm probably going to need to be able to go a mile. You can see how I'm breaking this down all the way to where I'm in a hospital room and I need to beat this pneumonia. I need to regain my ability to swallow, but I'm not so lost in this near-term challenge of just swallowing. It's for a purpose because it's all oriented towards that goal of walking again. So 8.5 years I've been fighting this, over 3,100 days at this journey. I think what keeps me going is because I don't get lost in the day-to-day minutia. I'm really focused on this end goal. I really, truly believe I'm going to hit it there, and I'm having the progress to show it.
Amazing. You mentioned a few sort of goals there now, but I mean, presumably when you achieve a goal, you just set more, but you have a long-term idea for goals. So like, what is your, like, how far down can you see? Is it the 2-mile walk? Is that sort of,
It's that wheelchair independence. Once I've reached that, I've crossed my finish line. And then from there, kind of like, sky's the limit in terms of whatever I want to do. That's my physical goals too, because I also have goals of being the best husband and father that I can possibly be. And I have goals in sharing this story with as many people as possible. And in so many ways, I'm more grateful for those accomplishments than I am for my physical ones too, for my wife and kids and this meeting.
Yeah, well, you really are such an inspiration. You really are. And I know that you talk to people about motivation and getting through difficult moments. And I suppose just to finish up today, what is your message that you give to people when you're talking to those who have gone through something difficult or are going through something difficult, to help them, to encourage them, to guide them? What do you say to them at their tough moments?
Yeah, there's this saying that I go to probably daily, and I try to give people when they're going through a tough spot that I gave myself, and that saying is compared to what? So I'm tired, but compared to what? There's a lot that I'm going through right now, but compared to what? there's a lot that I can do. There's a lot that I do have. And in order to be able to say compared to what and use it in a healthy way, you have to have a really strong perspective. You need to look outside of yourself. You need to look up stories, people who are overcoming tremendous adversity, because right now there's millions of people in this world who would rather be in our situation than their own. Connect with that. Be grateful for all the things that you have in your life. I think that compared to what perspective type principle is the key to happiness. It's the key to resilience. And it doesn't dismiss our challenges. I think it's really unhealthy if we dismiss our challenges. It just puts it down to size to realize that what I go through is overcomable. There's so much that I can achieve. So anyone who's going through a tough time right now, just think compared to what. I think that'll really help
It's got to be the title of your next book, without a doubt. I mean, certainly.
Yeah.
Wow, Robert, honestly, I'm going to leave this studio with such a spring in my step. And I just think that, what doesn't matter, what we've gone through compared to what. And aren't we all lucky in so many different ways? So look, thank you so, so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Benjamin. I got like a permanent smile on my face from this conversation. So enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Have a wonderful day. And who knows, let's stay in touch. I'd love to hear how you're doing and keep watching you hit those goals.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Good man. Take care, Robert.
Thank you. You too.
Well, I've got to say, that was one of the most inspiring talks I've had recently. And compared to what? What a great message that is. Everywhere we go, you have to remember there are people who are worse off than we are. And it doesn't matter how bad your circumstances are, as Robert just showed. And I think it's such an important message to keep remembering. And he did. He had the biggest smile on his face. And amazing, we both share this, me and Robert, that at some point you switch and you realize that bad things can come with real positive things. And you can find strength and goodness in anything. And it might be difficult to reach there, but you can get there. And again, so many of our guests have said what Robert just said too, that if you have a routine and you're proactive and you set yourself goals and you work towards them, and when things are bad, you pick yourself up, have a talk with someone and go somewhere. Those are just all really positive, proactive ways of getting through something difficult. And he's done it. He keeps doing it. And so many of the people in this podcast do it. So look, I hope that talk is going to help you today, is going to make you hold your head up high. It certainly did for me. And just a great, great guest. And I think we're going to see if we can maybe get him on camera one day, because I'd love to tell his story a little bit more. So look, everyone, thank you for joining the podcast again. I'm always grateful that you're here with us, and we'll speak to you next week. Have a great one. Thanks for listening to Searching for Heroes. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcasts Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.